Can I show you a scary video? No, because this video is crazy and nobody really talked about it. Like, it got news articles, but the original video didn't even go that viral. This video is from 2020 and it comes from Bogotá, Colombia. And in the video, the man starts to hear strange sounds at this airport called El Dorado. And he goes to investigate, and this happens.
Nadie allá. Dios mío. Bueno, voy para adentro. La sangre de Cristo me cura. Hola, hola. Hola. Hola, hola. ¿Estás acá? ¿Dónde estás? Se prenden las luces. ¿Estás jugando con la llave? ¿Ah? ¿Estás jugando con la llave? ¿Ah? Necesito otra prueba. Necesito otra prueba. ¡Ay, marica!
Let's talk about one of the first viral horror videos on the internet, the Obey the Walrus video. Now, before I show you the video, let me break it down a little bit. On October 5th, 2007, the early stages of YouTube were still setting in. And with this came the rise of viral videos. And unfortunately, on that day, YouTube would experience its first viral horror video, which was Obedece a la Morsa, which translates to Obey the Walrus. Now, I'm gonna show you the video and I wanna discuss how horrifying this video is, and it is not for the reasons that you think, okay? Okay, I'm gonna play it, here it is.
La pequeña araña en un tubo se subió.
Now, this video would go viral, garnering millions of views, later be described as like a cursed video. Now, what a lot of people fail to realize is that in that video, the woman tap dancing was actually a famous trans actor named Sandy Crisp, aka Goddess Bunny. She actually had polio, which makes the fact that she was tap dancing even more impressive. She even had her own movie, was in a Dr. Dre music video, been in a movie with Carrie Fisher, and even tap danced for the MTV Music Awards. What Obedece a la Morsa did was actually take one of her tap dancing videos from around 1987, contort it to look creepy. Sandy Crisp was in her 20s at that time. Sandy would later address how she felt about the Obey the Walrus video on October 15th, 2018. And in it, she expresses how she does not like the video.
And that Obey the Walrus, excuse me, I'm not a walrus, I'm a human being.
And unfortunately, Sandy would later pass away from COVID in 2021. I say Obedece a la Morsa is horrifying because it took this perfectly normal video, this woman just tap dancing, and completely just distorted it to make it look cursed. All I want to say is Sandy was a super talented person with really good style. Like, look at that, that's a cute outfit. Whose actual talents got briefly overshadowed by this viral moment. But yeah, that's the story of the first viral horror video on the internet. And rest in peace, Sandy. Such a talented woman, honestly.
In Veracruz, there's a park named Reino Mágico. One day, a woman took her daughter to play in the park. While playing, the woman's daughter came to her and said, "I made a new friend, but she's cold and needs a sweater." The girl's mom was worried that the little girl was there abandoned and asked her, "Where are your parents?" The little girl said to her, "My mom left me here, but she's gonna come back." So the woman gave the girl her sweater. It was time to leave and the little girl's parents were still not there. The little girl told her that her mom would be by for her later. The little girl did tell the woman where she lived, and so she stopped by to ask what was going on. An old lady answered the door, and after confirming it was her daughter, she told the woman, "That's not possible. My daughter died years and years ago." When the park was still a cemetery, I visited my daughter's grave and I told her I would move her grave once I had enough money, but I never did. The little girl is still waiting there for her mom.
Do you know that the movie Corpse Bride is inspired by my real and tragic story? Hello, I am Emily, and my story begins in the 19th century. I was born into a wealthy family and lived happily with my parents in Europe. However, as I entered adolescence, issues with my parents surfaced. They attempted to find a wealthy family for me to marry into, aiming to elevate the family's status. Without my consent, they found a candidate and began preparing for the wedding. Despite my repeated objections, there was no resolution, so I began to seek my own destiny. Shortly after, I encountered a man named Berkis, older than me, who captivated me deeply. I believed it was true love. Sadly, Berkis had ulterior motives. He approached me solely for my wealth. Several months later, Berkis urgently proposed to me, and due to my intense love for him and the desire to break free from my parents' constraints, I accepted his proposal and introduced him to my parents. However, upon realizing his true intentions, my parents vehemently opposed the union. Berkis convinced me to escape with our family jewels and money. We arranged to meet under a tree near a cemetery at 3 o'clock in the early morning. As I eagerly anticipated our meeting at the agreed-upon location, everything unfolded according to his plan. Suddenly appearing from behind, seized all the jewels and money. He then led me to a prepared grave, but due to the rush, one of my hands remained exposed. What happens next? Don't miss the part 2.
And we talked about the robber doll.
Yeah.
There's also another one called I think it's called the Let Me Out doll. Have you heard about this one?
Did you not talk about this?
No, I didn't. There's only 2 dolls I talked about. The robber doll, and you talked about the Annabelle doll.
Yeah, okay,
Have
okay.
you heard of this?
Nah.
So apparently, it's the top 10 most haunted dolls in the world, right?
So it's up there.
It's up there
like-
with the
it's like
robber doll.
Kobe, and
Yeah.
then like
Kobe, Jordan, and
Jordan's like Annabelle.
James, fam. So I think the whole background story, it's like there's these 2 friends, right? And when they were kids, they were scared of like the house, an abandoned house, and they never went in it, right?
Yeah.
But as soon as they grew up, they went back in it, right? And when they were going in it, in like the floorboard, they seen like a wooden doll, and like it had like a weird like little smile, and it had hair, like a braid. And they were at first they were like, is that a child? Because it looks so human-like, right? So they're like, okay, no. And further inspection, they saw it was a doll. So they took it, and on the car ride back, they had it in a bag, right? And the friend was like, yo, bro, I think the bag is moving.
Nah.
And so the friend, this is where they fucked up.
Yeah.
The friend started shaking the bag, and he started joking around like,
Ah,
he said, this is where I got the name. Let me out, let me out. And from then on, the presence of this doll has made everyone in front of it pass out, vomit. I'm telling you everything, right? And they got a person to look in it, and more research, they said that the hair was actually real hair.
So it's like a real person.
It's a real person, yeah. And they took it to like some psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist found out that they told him, yeah, in that doll there was a boy that took its place, and the boy.
Oh, psychic.
Yeah, psychic.
Yeah.
And it died from drowning, right? And this is, if you all connected, look.
Yeah.
Whenever they started traveling, it always rained when they carried the doll around it. Yeah. So. And taken, the guy says it's actually hasn't brought me any bad luck. It's just other people. So everyone's telling him, yo, sell the doll. So he tried to sell the doll, and he had a buyer for it on like a marketplace. Before he went into his car, the doll, he said, yo, it was like this powerful force telling me not to go and sell it. So it pushed him out of his car.
Wow.
So he's like, okay, I'm gonna keep it then.
Yeah.
And from then on, he's got good luck from it.
Damn. So it's like a
So it's actually it's like a plot twist, but it's fucked because it made other people like do other shit.
So you know about the Serbian dancing lady, right? She's been spotted dancing on the streets late at night, and if you go near her, she'll attack you. Well, she's not the only one anymore. There's a bunch of them. And they attack. Watch this. This is probably the creepiest trend ever. Like, what would you do if you actually saw one of these things in real life?
Hello TikTok. I'm going to show you how to find me on text-to-speech. 1. Film your video. 2. Add your text. 3. Tap on your text and select the screen voice. Do you like scary movies?
What's the real story behind the Conjuring house? What's the actual story?
So yeah, it's built on the same grounds that the King Philip's War was fought on, like right at the beginning of United States and everything. So the main people that haunt it are 7 dead soldiers that this little girl always kept seeing in the walls, and thus it started manifesting more to the entire family. So this family called the Perrin family bought the place in like 1972, and for 10 years they said they would see, you know, these figures, these soldiers walking around, like their beds would shake, they would get scratches, like, and it kept getting worse over the 10 years.
So this person means the dancing Serbian lady. So let's talk about the dancing Serbian lady. A few years ago, this myth arose on the internet. There's a lady in Serbia that dances on the streets, and if you get close to her, she will threaten you. She'll usually take out a knife and threaten you and chase you down. A lot of these claims were brushed under the rug because nobody really had proof until recently. They actually have a video of the dancing Serbian lady on the news in Serbia. At the end of the video, it is a little creepy too because she's walking towards the camera. If you're in Serbia and you see this lady on the street, do not get near her. It might just be your last day on Earth. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. And if you're from Serbia, let me know if you've heard about this legend before.
Sometimes true for stranger than fiction. The case of Richard Trenton Chase is a story which even the most depraved horror writer would struggle to create. Over the course of 4 weeks spanning across 1977 and 1978, Richard Chase took the lives of 6 innocent victims in Sacramento, California. His murders gradually progressed in violence, beginning with drive-by shootings and culminating in acts of cannibalism.
In 1984, a 17-year-old girl decided to write a suicide note as she was planning to unalive herself after her shift that day. But when a serial killer abducted her that very same night, everything changed. Like many of us, Lisa McVeigh was actually a true crime fan and used what she learned from TV to save her life. Today, we're going to be talking about the highly requested case of Lisa McVeigh, and I can see why so many of you guys wanted me to do the story. But just bear in mind, we are going to be talking about SA and the abuse of minors, but let's get into it. Lisa McVeigh described her childhood as rough, and this was an understatement. She grew up in foster care from the age of 2, and she was returned to her biological mother, who was a drug addict and left her alone for a lot of the time. She eventually moved in with her grandmother and her grandmother's boyfriend in Tampa when she was only 14, but this place was far from a safe haven that Lisa needed. Lisa was physically assaulted and raped by her grandmother's boyfriend. Lisa's grandmother knew that this was happening, but she insisted that this was the way for Lisa to learn how to please a man at such an early age. But when Lisa turned 17, her grandmother's boyfriend started to talk about having a child with her, and at this point Lisa had had enough. So on the 2nd of December 1984, Lisa decided to write a suicide note before she left for her shift at Krispy Kreme. She had planned to take her life that night. Whenever Lisa's grandmother's boyfriend had to Lisa, he had often left a gun up to a temple to threaten her, and she had planned to use the very same gun to unalive herself. On that particular night, Lisa had decided to work a double shift, which she didn't normally do, but she really didn't want to come home to face her grandmother and her grandmother's boyfriend. But for the first time, Lisa said that she genuinely felt happy going home because she knew that she was gonna unalive herself that night. She drove past a church where she spotted a red car, and to this day, she had no idea why this car stood out to her. But as she turned her head back to the road, she was snatched off her bike. Lisa started screaming as loudly as she could until her attacker held a gun to her head and said, "Shut up, or I'll blow your brains out." It was at this point where Lisa decided that she no longer wanted to die and said to him that she would do anything, just not to kill her. The man had tied Lisa up and blindfolded her. Lisa was actually tensing her face and her jaw, so when she relaxed her face, the blindfold would essentially loosen and she'd be able to see a little bit. He threw her in the car, and because of this trick, she was able to identify that she was in a Dodge Magnum car with red carpet. The man then ordered Lisa to strip and perform a sexual act on him before driving away. Lisa kept count of the minutes and took note that they were driving to the north. She counted every flight of steps that he was leading her to, just in case she could get away. She would know exactly how many flights of steps she would have to run down. He essentially led her into his apartment. He then forced Lisa to remove her blindfold while keeping her eyes shut and led her to the shower, where he bathed her like she would describe a romantic partner would bathe their spouse. For the next 26 hours, Lisa was tortured, abused, and raped. But Lisa was so incredibly smart, and she started to leave fingertip prints everywhere. Any surfaces she could find, leg chairs, tables, walls. She even convinced the man to let her into the bathroom alone so she could press her fingertips on really obscure places he would likely forget to clean. All this time, Lisa kept her composure. She was really able to try to draw out conversation with him, particularly around his past and why he was doing what he was doing. A news report came in that a 17-year-old girl was missing by the name of Lisa Rhodes. If you're wondering why I said Rhodes, Lisa's grandmother's boyfriend forced Lisa to take his last name. Lisa immediately burst into tears, and this was the first time she cried throughout this entire ordeal. Just so incredibly strong, I would have cried the minute I was kidnapped. But the man grew angry, stormed towards Lisa, and put a gun on her temple saying, "Don't make me kill you." Lisa then realized that she had to switch up tactics. Lisa lied and said that she had a sick dad that only she cared for, and if she didn't return to him, he would simply die from a broken heart. This is because Lisa could sense that at some point in his life, he too may have been abused, and Lisa said in BAU style, it was almost like setting up a profile of a suspect. So Lisa asked at one point, "Why are you doing this to me?" And he had responded that he had actually dealt with a really bad breakup and was getting back at women in general. Love that for us. So because of the news report, he did find out that she was much younger than what she claimed, and he was stressing about it. At around 3:30 a.m., he actually turned to Lisa and asked her, "What should I do with you?" And Lisa was so smart to use reverse psychology on him. Lisa said to him, "You're a really nice guy, I can take care of you, I can stay with you, I'll be your girlfriend, no one needs to know how we met." But he kept pacing around the room and said, No, where do you live?" Lisa could tell that freedom was just around the corner and decided to give him a fake address. He gave Lisa another woman's shirt before hauling her back into his car where they drove off. She could sense that he was starting to panic quite a bit. He was muttering, he was yelling at himself. Lisa, the queen that she is, remained so calm. Through the gap in a blindfold, she was able to recognize the streets that she was near, calmly asked him, "Where are we now?" And he told her which street they were on, and she said, "That's perfect. Just make a U-turn and drop me off there." And he listened to her. The man opened the car door, let Lisa out, and said to her, "Tell your father he's the reason why I didn't kill you." He then instructed Lisa to wait for 5 minutes before running off. And Lisa would say that these 5 minutes felt like 5 years. Lisa had run home to grandmother's house, and when she arrived home, she was met by her grandmother's boyfriend who beat her to a pulp because he believed that she had cheated on him. Either the grandmother or the grandmother's boyfriend believed that she was actually kidnapped. The grandma did call the police, not because she believed that Lisa was abducted but just to let them know, "Oh, my granddaughter's back and you don't have to worry about looking for her anymore." Police decide to investigate. Lisa told a female investigator everything, but the female investigator didn't believe her because Lisa was so calm. She made Lisa tell her story a billion times until Lisa said, "Nope, get me someone more intelligent." So then she told her story to Sergeant Larry Pinkerton, who believed her story 100%. He wanted to hypnotize Lisa to recall more memories from the attack. However, because she was 17, she needed approval from a guardian. Now, because the grandmother's boyfriend refused for Lisa to do any of this raised some concerns with Pinkerton, which prompted Lisa to actually open up about the abuse that was happening at home, leading to the arrest of Lisa's grandmother's boyfriend. But let's not forget about the man who kidnapped and Lisa, Robert Joseph Bobby Joe Long. Bobby Joe was a serial killer and in the Tampa region, and he actually killed around 10 women. So Lisa McVeigh looked at photos of all the potential kidnappers, and because she was allowed to feel his face through the blindfold and get a peek of him, she was able to identify him and his features immediately. Ultimately, all the details of Lisa's story led to his arrest, and just 12 days after the abduction, he was caught. The police would later find that after Lisa was released, Bobby Joe went on to kill 2 other women. The following year, Bobby Joe would be found guilty of first-degree murder and was sentenced to death. Lisa would move in with her auntie and uncle who were incredibly kind to her. In 2004, she signed up for the police academy. She later joined the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office and she began specializing in sex crimes. In 2019, the state of Florida executed Bobby Joe Long, and Lisa McVeigh, being the queen that she is, wore this iconic t-shirt that read, "Long overdue." Lisa said this incredible quote in one of her interviews: "Bobby Joe Long wasn't going to take my life away. He didn't have the right to, and that's why I started to fight to live." Lisa, if you're watching this, I think you're absolutely incredible and so inspiring. Thank you for sharing your story and all the hard work you put into victims advocacy. I just have no words. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.